in 1917 with the Russian Revolution. It was one of the three occupying powers, partitioning powers, was taken out of the game. Soon after the October Revolution, the Soviet Bolsheviks, they started looking for peace options with the Germans. They wanted to trade territory for time. So in the Brest-Litovsk Treaty, they gave up enormous territories to the Germans, nearly all of Ukraine, nearly all of Belarus, the Baltic states of today, naturally, and also what had been their part of Poland, so to say. So, interestingly, the Soviets, the Bolsheviks, were the second power in the world after the Americans that recognized Polish independence. The Americans also played an important part. On January 8th, 1918, Woodrow Wilson presented his famous 13 points, in which he envisioned how the world should look like after an Allied Entente victory in the First World War. One of those 13 points was an independent Poland. So his support naturally had a lot of importance for how this issue was also perceived by other powers. So the French, the British position, they didn't really have anything against it, but maybe they were not as forceful in their support for an independent Poland. Maybe a little bit more in the case of France than the UK, as in France you had a large Polish army, the so-called Blue Army of General Haller, which was under the so-called Polish National Liberation Committee. This was one of those centers of authority and power that I mentioned before, that it wasn't certain that it would be Piłsudski that would take power. The French were pushing for Józef Haller and his Blue Army as being the representatives of the Polish cause of independence. This finally came to a big conclusion in the autumn of 1918. The German army started, maybe not collapsing, the army was still holding up as good as it could, which is why later on Adolf Hitler came with his Dolchstoß legend, or the stab in the back conspiracy theory, because there was huge turmoil in Germany. The British naval blockade, it has to be said that the British did this very well. They managed to seal off Germany from a lot of natural resources and trade from the world oceans. And in the autumn of 1918, you had more or less starvation in parts of Germany, and you had this general demoralization in which the civilian population was no longer willing to suffer for the cause of the war effort. There was also socialist revolution or communist revolution brewing, both among the civilians and among parts of the military forces. And in the end, it all crumbled, and Kaiser Wilhelm II was forced to resign, abdicate, and to leave. In connection with this, things started unfolding more and more quickly. The Poles were slightly surprised by the speed of events. You had on November 1st, you had a rebellion breaking out among the Ukrainians in Galicia. They took control of several cities or tried to besiege them. The Poles considered some of them as obvious Polish lands. The cities of Przemyśl or Lwów or Lviv were among them. So the Poles very quickly started mobilizing for fighting against the Ukrainians in that part of the country.
Adam, the clock in the corner of the studio is blinking at me, so I'm afraid we must bring this program to an end. Thank you. We'll pick it up next time. There we are, I've had to interrupt Adam almost in mid-sentence, but fear not, if you join us next time, as we hope you will, we'll continue the story. In the meantime, thank you for watching Poland Daily History.